Okay, I've tackled this issue quite a number of times, and I'm going to do it again because it's quite interesting to keep coming back to this concept. Now, I've asked the question before in these videos, who am I? So I'm going to ask it again because this is considered to be the great underlying inquiry of yoga and of meditation and of spiritual work generally. Who are we? What are we? Well, I'm going to talk about it here in terms of, you see, in the Hindu ideas, in the Upanishads and things like that, they talk about the koshas, the 5 Pancha Koshas, the 5 sheaths that the human consciousness is inside of. You know, 5 layers, as it were. The first of those layers is called the Annamaya Kosha. This is like the body. Right, so when we ask the question, who am I? We first may look at this and say, who am I? Am I the body? You know, it's quite a... We could be, because I mean, most scientists say that the body is everything, that we go no further than that, that consciousness, awareness, our sense of personality are all developed from the body, and when the body's dead, that's it, we're gone. You know, as a medium, I would completely disagree with that, but that is a fair comment. But are we the body? So I'm here, I'm aware, but then I notice that my body's also changing a lot. You know, I'm getting older for a start, and they say that the body's whole cellular system, everything in the body changes every 7 years. So if it's all changing, I'm not the same person physically as I was when I started in this life, or very little of me is that, you know. And yeah, all throughout all this sense of I, it remains constant. It's always there with us, isn't it? I'm always I, even though my body might be now a completely different body to what it was when I started, because all the cells have changed, you know, and it's got older, and everything's changed in me. I'm still basically me. I'm still I. So the whole idea of my body suggests that the body is actually an instrument, a vehicle. It's not me. It's something I'm driving around in almost. And so perhaps first we need to say, we want to get to the bottom of who am I, we have to say, well, I'm not the body, am I? Because the body, I can be disassociated from the body, you know. And when we do spiritual practice with yoga and things like that, we disassociate from our body. We realise the body is the vehicle. Okay, now in the idea of the koshas, there's also the next kosha, which is like the Prana Kosha, the Pranamaya Kosha. This is the prana's like the spiritual energy, right? So am I that? Am I that spiritual energy, you know? Okay, but who's observing that energy, you know? Okay, because that energy's there, it's the life force of the body. Okay, that energy might survive beyond death, which I say it would. You know, the prana, the life force, or aspect of it, moves beyond death. We have a spirit body. I'm in the spirit world. I have but it's still much the same position as I was when I was looking at the body, wasn't I? Because now I've got a spiritual body. I've got a duplicate body made of the spirit, made of prana, made of life force. You know, if you buy into this idea, but this is part of it. And it's still, there's a sense of I still going on. The sense of I continues after death as well as through life. So from a medium's point of view, you know, we look at the prana and say, well, I am not the spirit, really, in that sense, right? Now that prana is the life force. It's one of the sheath. It's fuels. The body's a physical vehicle. The prana is like the energy that moves the physical vehicle. And within it, we have another element, another kosha, as they call it. It's just sheath, it means, called the Manomaya Kosha, which is like the mind. Now, the mind's in constant flux. It's always changing, right? It's always there, but it's always changing. So how can I be the mind if it's always changing? It's not me. That's not the permanent me, is it? And if I'm able to look at the mind and observe the mind, then if I'm the observer of the mind, then that's not me. And maybe even the personality, you know, is not me either, because I'm able to observe it. I'm observe this twit talking to you now. I can observe him, you know. And so we have different layers. So I'm not that layer of this makeup of the human existence, which is the koshas. So there's another kosha they talk beyond that. So this is the higher one. This is perhaps we get into the spiritual kosha. They call it, it kind of represents intuitive wisdom. And it's the Vijnanamaya Kosha. Now, this is the idea of pure knowledge, you know, intuitive knowledge. I would call it the psychic sheath, really, because I mean, when you connect to the psychic powers, it comes from this state that's beyond the mind, beyond the intuition, beyond the unconscious, beyond everything. It's kind of from out there, right? It's an instant knowing. You just know it, you know, and that's because I think with that we're in connection with this intuitive wisdom kosha, the Vijnanamaya kosha, right? So, but I'm still okay. It's received knowledge. I'm still aware of receiving that knowledge. I'm still aware. The sense of I still persists there, doesn't it? So I'm not that, because I'm aware that that has happened, right? So it's a bit like, it's almost exactly the same as the position I'm in when I look at the mind, you know? I'm not my thoughts, I'm observing the thoughts. And I'm not this higher intuition either, because I'm able to observe that. So I'm not even this so-called over-self that some call it. And then there's the next sheath, as it were, the next aspect of ourselves, like layers of an onion we are. This is the bliss, I'm just got on a list, the bliss sheath, the bliss sheath, you know, and the Anandamaya Kosha is called, you know, bliss, the absolute bliss. So beyond the mind, beyond the intuitive wisdom, there's this other state that is described as bliss, absolute perfect existence, absolute joy, you know. But then we have to say, is that the ultimate goal of human existence? Absolute happiness, absolute bliss, perfectness? But no, because if I can experience and feel the bliss, then I'm not it, am I? I'm experiencing the bliss. I'm experiencing having bliss. So there is still an I there, isn't there? There's still this self, right? So in essence, I think with all those things, we come to the understanding the I exists on all those levels, doesn't it? It exists on all those things, and beyond all that, beyond all of the above, or beyond all of those things I've talked about there, I am that, really. I am all of it. I am all of that, and more than that, it all is, you know. It's an ineffable thing. It's an impossible to express thing. It's impossible to experience, but impossible to express. But one of the things I think you could take away from this idea is that throughout all that, we don't die, do we? The I is eternal. And maybe the I was never actually born in the first place. Maybe it never actually came into existence. It's just an illusion. And if I've never been born, if I've never actually exist because I don't actually exist in the first place, then I never die. We have this eternal state that transcends all those koshas that I've described. So I probably left you more puzzled than when you started in some ways, because it's quite a difficult concept. But anyway, that's one more take on who am I. Is the future set, or can we change it? In my new book, I take a mystical journey to India to do magical remedies that will change my personal destiny. I open a 5,000-year-old secret oracle that tells about what will happen in the future. I meet strange siddha yogis with miraculous powers who show me how to eradicate the karma that drives events. What I discover changes everything. We can all change our destiny, and maybe together we can change the future of the world as well. Start making that change. My new book, Mystic Journey to India, that has now been made into a major international documentary series, is now available on Amazon.